What is the art of knowledge? To know requires using the brain to learn, like a stomach to swallow, or a black hole to consume, or a sponge to soak up as much knowledge as possible at all times. Once one bores of existent reality, one can seek solace in books. From both these sources, one can gain vast amounts of great knowledge. For example, for over a decade prior to his joining the Golden Dawn, Aleister Crowley was a world-renowned mountain climber. So he spent his early maturity in practice of physical survival, and only later chose to devote himself fully to the study of the esoteric arts. Indeed, many know of only their own specialized field of study and employ. A scientist who knows only the computations and calculations necessary for their own next laboratory experiment is of little more good philosophically than a mechanic on an assembly line who spends their whole life installing the same type of bolt onto hundreds of the same model vehicle. One may learn from books. Socrates said the unexamined life is not worth living, and Shakespeare wrote, "This above all, to thine own self be true." Thus the saying, "Know thyself," is almost as profound and extreme a philosophical imperative as the saying, hung over the entrance to Plato's Academy, "Let none ignorant of geometry pass." Ultimately, however, it is futile and useless to want to try or to actually know everything. It is more than sufficient to only know what is needed in any given situation in order to survive and advance. In a cosmic sense, the amount of knowledge one needs to learn in order to understand true metaphysics, for example, is very little. One may attain enlightenment after only brief study and the practice of some rudimentary yoga. Enlightenment, called in the Orient nirvana and samadhi, and in the Occident called Gnosis and foresight, is the full awakening to the maximum extent of one's capacity for perception, including activating nascent psychic potential to know fact from fiction, to see through lies, intuiting truth, and the ability to tell right choices from wrong ones based on predictable future outcomes before the choice is made. Such apparent telepathy and clairvoyance are considered the peak and pinnacle of the art of knowledge being put into practice. As this method may be described in works and taught by being written down in a book, I still consider writing a book the highest form of the art of knowledge being expressed and carried on in itself and for its own sake alone.